Hello world and welcome back. The word of the day today is dust spots. Everybody has them, everybody loves them, and admit it, you've probably at some point coveted the little, single tick box that you can put in Lightroom and have it reveal all of your dust spots. And if you're working in Photolab, you probably have some potential ways to do workaround, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're newer to Photolab and you're not really sure how to handle dust spots in Photolab. And I think a lot of people would say you can't do what you do in Lightroom when you're in Photolab. I just would like to quickly show you that, and then I'll pop back. So can you indeed, and do you need to all the time? Great questions here. And one of the things when I was getting set to do this video, I saw a comment on a Facebook group this morning saying, how do you do it? And a few different suggestions coming through. And this, what I'm about to show you, is a culmination of a lot of different disparate bits of information in my brain that kind of came together at once. So the truth of the matter is, how do I handle dust spots in Photolab? Well, two ways really. My traditional methods of handling dust spots are to come over to this space and to crank up my Clearview. The truth is that if it's critical, most of the time I'm going to have the image in Photoshop, and I've got a plugin in Photoshop called Lumenzia that does an incredible job of mapping out dust spots and different ways of looking at dust spots as well. Some ways might show up more than others, etc., etc. But for most images, I don't bother that level, and I would just use Clearview Plus. But maybe you want to, and you can see dust spots have shown up here. But maybe you want to get a better view of your dust and you're not really 100% trusting this. So the question is, as always, how do you do it? Now I just noticed that I've got like a little bit of exposure adjustment here, so I want to make sure that I see there's a little micro contrast too. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm totally reset here, because at some point in the past I was mucking about with this image. So let me unmuck and bring it right back to basics. So when you're looking at this image just straight up, it might not immediately appear to have much in the way of dust. I was super excited when I started to do this video because I realized that I had to go reasonably far back to find an atrocious example of dust. Apparently I've been pretty good at cleaning my sensor recently. So the number one way to handle your dust is to clean your sensor. And believe me when I say that that is a do as I say, not do as I do, because like I said, lots of times I don't actually remember or get around to it. So getting into this, how can I recreate that dust spot view that you might get in Lightroom? It's actually easier than you might think. So I'll start out with, first of all, it tends to be a monochromatic view, so I'll come over here and I'll pop this onto the black and white. And just because I'll want contrast as I'm going, I'm going to put it on black and white strong. Keep in mind that this is a temporary measure just for the spotting. It doesn't mean you need to leave it in black and white. We can put all of this on top, do the spotting, and then turn it all off, and away we go. So with this done, the star of the show really is the curves tool. So just popping back here to the light space, scrolling down a little bit to the curves tool. I'll pause briefly on the curves tool just to advocate, if anyone from DxO is watching this, a spot as you're thinking about Photolab 8 to improve would be the curves tool for me. The curves tool, of course, is such a powerful tool, and there are some tweaks that could be done here to improve the curve tool usage in Photolab. So just throwing that out there. But anyway, how am I going to create what I want? Well, I'm going to use a very extreme curve. And there are a few ways, and I'll show you a few different examples of this, but in its simplest form, I'm going to come right here, I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag that all the way to the top. I'm going to come right here, I'm going to click, which is a bit tricky. There we go. It's a little hard to hit that mark. I'm going to bring this all the way to the bottom. So that it has indeed made a funky image, but I'm still not overly seeing the dust spots. Let me zoom in a little bit here. You can kind of see a few, but it's certainly not showing up really well. If I scroll up a little now and turn on my Clearview, and then I'll also put on my contrast and crank that micro contrast up as well. And now you can see quite a bit more shining through. as I scroll around. Just zooming back out. Just thinking about a nice zoom level for this so that we can see that sky a bit better. I'll maybe bump that up to 50 so we can see what's happening, especially in that sky. So you can see quite a bit in the way of dust spots showing up there. And you can actually then add on top of that a little bit of exposure. So if I slide my exposure slider, it's going to change the relationships and you can kind of bring it through. Might be able to spot something extra this way. For example, as I come down here, this one, which is quite hard to spot, becomes a bit more visible. And you can go in both directions with this. It's just going to overall change how the tone curve is impacting, and it will change how, and see this shows up in a different way now. These showing up in a different way. So I've just reset that, and literally I can leave this on while I do my spotting. So I can come up here and grab my tool, and I can do what I need to do here. I'm being a bit sloppy, so forgive me, but you get the idea. Oh, that one was a bit of a travesty, wasn't it? There we go. Left something behind there. And let me just slide that again so I can really well see the ones below. Oh, look, there's one there too. See, it's actually a really flexible technique, because with that slight exposure shift, it's showing different things up in different ways. So you can get through quite fine-tuned. And once that's all complete, then I can turn off my Clearview, turn off my contrast, turn off my tone curve, and they're all gone. And of course I can come back here. I don't need to leave this on black and white either. So, completely corrected. At least in that section of the screen that I could see. Now you might be looking down here. If you've got eager eyes, you might have noticed that I've got some other things down here. And that's just to show you that you can play around with that a little bit. So on this example, I showed this really super basic. This is the most basic curve. But you can totally just have a go and see what shows things up. This one, you'll see I've just put in more. Again, just going top to bottom, creating that zigzag. So experiment, see what is going to work for you. That's the basic one. What's this one? Oh yeah, I experimented with a whole heap. And that's interesting, because I think maybe this dust spot didn't show up on some other views, for example. And even with this one as well, you can still come up here to the exposure and you can, shift things around and get that different. So you can really get, I suspect possibly that one didn't show up in other areas too. So have a play with it. Curves is an extremely useful, powerful tool, and it's not as scary as it seems. Essentially, you're just mapping points on here. And notice, I guess I should say, in case people are not familiar with curves too much, that I have done this on the RGB, which is all of the channels. You can potentially, I guess, get into trouble if you just picked one of the channels. It might not work as well. The other thing I can say, if you're maybe thinking that this is a lot of work to do each time to set this up, it's not sort of a one-click solution like we see in something like Lightroom. If I come over here, oh, look at this. My tool is still on. Everybody remember what to do? I'm going to press escape, and that goes away. Watch my last video if you don't know about that one, the escape key. Absolutely wonderful. Anyway, I digress. So you want to be able to apply this a little bit more easily. I'm just going to pop over here, go to my preset editor, do new preset from current settings. I'm going to just click that and call this spot view. Press save. I'll just zoom out. Pardon me, zoom out. There we go. And now if I want to apply that, imagine I've got this image. Let me just reset this image again so that it's all straight back to normal. Come up here to apply preset. Down here to spot view, and away you go. Then once you're done doing your spotting, all you need to do is click reset here. Turn this off or down to whatever you want, and put it back to color if you want. So hopefully that will be helpful in your spotting journey, the never-ending pursuit of getting rid of dust spots. If you've got other ideas of quick videos that I could put together that would be helpful to you, throw them out there. No guarantees, but there's a chance I might have some ideas on what to do. And if I do, I will do a video. Just drop it in the comments. And for now, thanks for watching, and I'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.